Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday evening. I am Mrs. Deveter, and I am so happy that you decided to join me tonight. I hope you all had a moment to check out our live from yesterday, our Furls birthday party. We had way too much fun. I'm still going to keep my balloon and my party hat up. You have all week to enter our daily giveaways. Those of you who have already made your hat and used the hashtag FurlsTurns9, and you posted that on Facebook, you posted that on Instagram, you will automatically be entered in to win that first $100 gift card. We're super excited. But all week long, you have the opportunity to enter to win our daily giveaways. We are really excited about celebrating our 9th birthday. Of course, we're really happy. Everybody loves a good birthday party. And I'm excited because we got to celebrate our birthday party during Pride Month. Woohoo, woohoo. And you guys who have joined me, thank you for always stopping by this month to chill with me and learn some new things from some amazingly talented creators in the fiber arts. Today, I'm really excited about a young man that I get to chat with today and present to some and introduce to others. I'm not going to pronounce his name right. He gave me the pronunciation. Just before we came on, he pronounced it for me twice, but I'm still not going to remember it, and I don't want to butcher his name. So the first thing he's going to say when he comes on is his name, and then I'll say, I'm introducing him to you guys. Hello. Thank you for joining me. Let me know where you're coming from. Let me know where you're watching from, and share. Make sure you share, because you know I give something away. So at the end of this, we'll figure out what I'm going to do today to give something away. But I have a very special guest, and I want you to put some clapping hands in the comment section to let him know that you're here and you're excited to hear from him. And here is my friend. His name is
Paquiliztli.
Paquiliztli.
Yes. I want to say happy 9th birthday to Furls Crochet, and I brought the glitter.
Oh, I love it. Yesterday, we didn't even blow our horns, and I love it right now. Yes, blow the glitter. Thank you so much for agreeing to join me tonight. So first, introduce yourself to the audience. Let them know who you are and tell them what it is that you're wearing right now.
All right, so my name is Diego, but I use the artistic name Paquiliztli, and I'm a tapestry crochet artist. What you see me wearing is a tlee, or basically a traditional Aztec, a cape that nobility would wear. And so this piece is one of my most recent pieces. It's one of my favorite pieces that I made by hand with tapestry crochet techniques with very thin yarn. Took me about almost a year to complete, but I love it so much, and it's one of my favorite pieces. I put a lot of passion into this piece, and so I decided to wear it.
It's beautiful. I mean, absolutely beautiful. Can you tell us how you got into tapestry crochet?
So I've always been into the creative arts, but it was kind of like a side hobby kind of thing. When I was younger, I would just play with yarn. I would play string games. I would go on to the library and find like information about how to make things, baskets, origami. Just generally, I've always had that interest, but it was always like a hobby. So I was always interested in like making things. So one day I was just knitting at home because my mom actually taught me how to knit, and I was like, okay, let me just knit. So one day she was watching me knit, and she's like, hey, have you heard of crochet? And I'm like, I have no idea what that is. She's like, yo, let me show you. So she sat with me. She taught me how to crochet that day. And I was really impressed with the technique because I could see so much potential. And I could see myself doing so many things with it. And because of that, I went and found out more information about crochet. And then I found out you could add colors. And then I was like, I'm going to go crazy with the colors.
And boy, I mean, can you stand up so we can
Yeah.
see like oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Guys, do you see this? This is beautiful. Oh my goodness, it's so intricate. And you said this took you about a year to create?
Yeah, it took about a year, but I could have probably finished it in about 5 months, I would say. But since, life gets in the way, it's kind of a hobby for me. I didn't actually have the time to do it. But when the pandemic happened, I used a lot of that time to crochet away.
I'm sure. I'm sure. So tell us a little bit more about the history of what it is that you crochet. You said it was Mexican. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so my inspiration is generally Mexican garments. And so a lot of the garments that I tend to make tend to have some cultural or traditional significance to me. So for example, this cape that I'm wearing, it's like I said, it's something that like nobility would wear in Aztec times in the 1500s. But this would be like something that a male would wear. Of course, I like pre-did it, made it really pretty. My design. But then there's also other ponchos that I make that are male ponchos, quote unquote male ponchos. And then I also make female ponchos that are more like triangular shapes. Those are called kitschkemit. And those are traditionally worn by women in indigenous communities, different communities. And I basically make those by hand. And that's the source of my inspiration, is usually those garments.
Oh
I
my
also make
goodness.
shawls, and I even made some things for my graduation from pharmacy school.
Mhm.
So yeah.
That's incredible. So I'm just in awe of how beautiful it is. And so do you design yourself? Like, do you come up with your own design that you're going to do?
Yeah, when I first started, I was reproducing pictures, like actual photographs. Like my earliest two pieces were based on photographs. But then later, I've been more into drawing and creating my own pictures. So a lot of my more recent ones are just actual drawings that I make on the iPad and that I digitalize. And then, well, I used to use Photoshop, but now I use a free program. And
Okay.
then, and then I create my own chart. I use a hexagon chart. I know that a lot of crochet artists use like a square chart, but the way that I do my technique, I found that using a hexagon chart is the best for recreating the proportions that I want and the way that I want to create my designs. So that's the unconventional or different thing that I do that other artists don't necessarily do.
Gotcha. So we have some questions coming in, and one is it done in one piece, or do you have to make multiple pieces?
One piece for all my pieces. It's one continuous thing. So for example, this one is actually, if you were to open it up at the middle, it would be a square with like a U for the
For the neck.
yeah, for the neck. And like the triangular shawls that I make, they are one piece, but they're like two rectangles in kind of like this, like one rectangle is like this, and then attached is another rectangle like that. Then I just trim it on the sides.
Gotcha. I mean, it's beautiful. Your work is incredible. And when we saw you on Instagram, we were automatically inspired and wanted to have a moment to chat with you and just learn more about what you're doing. Now, I know that we did the written interview, you guys. You can go to the furls.com website and go to Maker Stories. And it's in the blog section, and you can read his full interview. But I did want to ask some of the questions that I asked in there. So we talked a little bit about being a male and crocheting. How do people perceive you when they find out that you crochet?
Well, when I first started crocheting, I was kind of oblivious, because to me, like a craft doesn't really have a gender. So it's pretty oblivious to people's perceptions of crochet or who would or wouldn't crochet. And I used to crochet in coffee shops. I used to crochet at like Starbucks, and I would just sit there like completely clueless about what people would ever perceive or think of me. And then multiple women would come up to me and be like, "Oh my God, you're crocheting and you're a man." And like, so it was a very, interesting experience at the beginning, because it would bring in a lot of people for me, and they would always ask me like, how is it that you crochet and you're a man, you know? So at the beginning I wasn't really aware. Now I'm aware that it's traditionally female, but for me it's not. I don't necessarily worry about those things. I just do what makes me happy, and crochet definitely makes me happy.
I love that. And how old were you when your mom taught you?
23.
Wow. So you were already knitting.
Mm-hmm.
So you
I just know the basics, and I
me
still
too.
only know the basics.
Me and knitting are not friends. I try. I have a friend. She has a group. She's always telling me to come. She sends me millions and billions of emails with patterns, and I'm just like, I don't know. Every time I try to knit, it rolls up on itself. So I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah. It's so I respect it when I see talented knitters. I'm like, you go, because it is difficult. I can just do the knit, the purl, get you a square, make
That's it.
scarf. That's all I can do.
Same here. Now,
Yeah.
we talked a little bit about, you use your culture as inspiration to create. Would
Yeah.
you consider yourself a craftivist? Like, would you consider yourself a person who is like, just showing this whole side of the indigenous people? Do you think that you see yourself as a craftivist?
Definitely. The reason that I make all these pieces has a message. It's not just to look pretty, even though it does look pretty. And yeah, I like to make things that look nice. The general message has to do with empowerment and seeing yourself as beautiful. So a lot of these traditional garments, they're intended to be worn by somebody else and make them feel like they are powerful. They are, they are beautiful, it's etc. So that's the intention that I have with all my garments. And so in that sense, I am a craftivist. And some of my pieces, I didn't bring one with me, but one of my pieces specifically is called Tinochime Tishochime, which translates to "we are all flowers." And an indigenous woman, and she's surrounded by a halo of flowers. And then on the front side, it has flowers. So even though it's pretty and it has multiple flowers of multiple colors, it actually has a meaning, and that meaning is that we are all flowers and we're all beautiful, and we should embrace those differences.
I love that. That's beautiful. How did you get involved in that? Like, how did you, I know you shared again in your bio that you're born in Mexico, but you grew up in California. How did you
become
embrace this?
Yeah, so this would be college. So my undergraduate at UC San Diego, I was part of a lot of cultural organizations and part of some political organizations, one organization called Mecha. So that's how I became very aware of social issues. And that's how I got a lot of pride in myself and believing in myself. So
I love that.
It would be
college, basically. College. Well, thank goodness for college. It teaches us a lot,
It's not just the knowledge that you get there. It's the other things outside of college that you learn that make you a better person. And those are the things that you can't, put a price to, and that you can't express it when you're like, oh, just go to college.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I agree 100%. 100%. Okay, so now again, I'm going back. Y'all gonna have to read his interview because it's really good. He goes really in depth with a lot of the questions that I did ask. One of the parts in your bio, you say you're loud and you're proud. Tell us a little bit about that.
Ooh, LGBT issues. I mean, well, obviously with my art, I wear male or female attire when I model them. So in that sense, I don't necessarily care. But in my younger days, like college, I would do the kiss-ins, which would be we would kiss, same-sex couples would kiss in public. And I would do that just to spread that message of, love has no gender.
I
so
understand.
That's an example.
I understand that. As you know, we just recently released our Pride hook, which we're super excited about. Did you? Yes, you have your hook. That's what I
had it.
That's what I like to see. I have mine too. How did you feel when you saw this hook? How did you feel?
Honestly, I just want to say that I 100% appreciate Furls Crochet for the representation. because I was watching some of your previous maker stories, and one of your, I forgot his name, but he was saying that representation matters, and I was like, yes, it does, because it makes you feel like somebody is watching you, acknowledges you, and appreciates you. And that's a part of our identity as queer people or LGBT people, that a lot of our lives we've tried to hide from other people. And then now to actually be recognized and not necessarily have to hide it and just be ourselves, it feels really good. It was very meaningful to me, honestly.
Oh,
Thank you.
good. That makes us happy. Then that means that mission accomplished for us. You know, we definitely want people to know that, like you said, representation matters, and that we see you and we appreciate you, and we're champions for you, right? So we want to see all the amazing things you're going to make with this hook. Now I know that our hook, our Pride hook, it doesn't come in the really small hook sizes that you use. What's your hook size? Like, what's your go-to hook size?
I have
It's an honesty, y'all.
No, it's 2.25 millimeters. I have the Odyssey, the Furls Odyssey hook. And I use the smallest possible one because my pieces are really intricate. So I have, if you can see this, the detail is kind of probably hard to see, but the yarn that I use is lace weight yarn. So I have to use the smallest hook possible. And the reason I do such an intricate is just because it allows me to add more detail. That's why I add such thin yarn. And so because of that, I had to use the smallest one.
Yeah, when I was looking at your stuff, I was like, he needs a teeny tiny itty bitty hook, like the hooks I use to make my earrings. We got to get him a little hook. That's awesome.
I started with a regular size hook when I learned crochet, but then what happened was that this yarn was the most available in like my area. And so I was like, well, this yarn is too thin for this hook. So I started finding the smallest hook I could. And that's how I start experimenting with this really, really thin yarn. And now this is just how I crochet.
I love it. Do you make anything else? Like, do you make hats and things like that with regular yarn? Regular?
In my experimentation phase. Yes, I used to make them when I first started. It took me about 3 years. So in 2010 is when I learned, but it took me about 3 years to figure out my technique. So in those 3 years, I made scarves, hats. I can follow a pattern. It's just that once I got into this, I couldn't let it go. And now I've only been doing this for forever.
I love it. I love it. When did you decide, okay, I'm going to let the world know what I'm doing as far as, you know, your Instagram and Facebook and everything? When did you say, I'm going to do it?
Well, it was 2013. But I did see, I always had the idea that I wanted to recreate pictures with crochet as soon as I found out I could add colors with crochet, but I didn't exactly know how I was going to do it. And what the breakthrough that I had to do at that time was I had to figure out the computer stuff, how to create the actual chart of how I was going to make whatever picture I wanted to make. And so in college, I learned like Photoshop skills. And that's how I was able to eventually break through it and figure out like how to actually create the chart. The day that I figured out how to create the chart, that's the day that I started on my first photograph. And then,
that's amazing.
And then after that, I was like, oh, I was excited. I remember that exact day because I was like, oh my God, I made a breakthrough. I'm going to do this. So I remember that exact day. I even went to my friend. He was like, I told him the story. We were at a bar. He's like, yeah, he didn't care. But for me, it was like, this is huge. You don't understand the crazy things I'm going to be able to do. And then, so I made that first piece. And then I put it on Facebook that, this was like 2013. I think it's either 2012 or 2013. I don't remember the exact date. But I put it online and my friends saw it and they're like, oh, that's amazing. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Like that was my first piece, right? And then I was like, that's cool. But then I posted my second picture maybe a couple months later and people were just crazy sharing it. And I just did not see it coming. It was so unexpected to me. It was like 300 shares, 5,000 likes or something. I was like, you know, it was a little for me. I did not expect that. I didn't see it coming.
Wow. So do you have people who try to commission your work? Do you take orders? Like, what do you do? How do you handle that side of the business?
Well, see, the problem with my quote unquote business, which is not necessarily a business, is that it's so time consuming to create one piece. Like, I would say it's about an average of 5 months per piece, depending on which piece, that it's kind of impractical for me to have it as like a business. And so I was watching one of your maker stories and they were saying how like, look, you do this beautiful work and then someone's like, well, I'll pay you like, $200.
$12.
They're like, no, that took me 5 months.
Right.
And so sometimes it's not necessarily worth it. But I have made commission pieces for people, and right now I have like 15 people waiting, and I'm like, I'm never gonna finish like anything. Like, I'm just never gonna finish, because I have personal projects, and when people are like, they see my personal project, they see what I do. Like, this was a personal project, but then every time I post some things, there's like 10 bajillion people like, hey, make me something, and I'm like, I can't handle this.
Like, I could take a picture of it and I could put a picture of it on a shirt for you. That's what I'll do for you.
Yeah. I can make it, but who knows if I'll be alive by the time I get it.
So have you ever thought about like doing shows where you just show it, like a museum kind of thing? Not a museum. What do you call it? Art gallery. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I've actually done 2 art galleries in the past. The problem is, though, that I only have like 4 pieces left now from the 20-ish pieces that I made, because they're all sold.
You sold them. I mean, that's awesome. So you build up your catalog, and then you have another show and charge $10,000 for each piece.
I don't know, because
and then you'll be good to go.
Yeah. So that's but
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I mean, I agree with you in that, when it takes you so long to make something, like you said, one of our makers did say that when you take so long to make something, you don't want to give it away. You don't want to sell it, like that piece you have on. Now, tell us a little bit about how you change colors in your crochet. I'm being so selfish. You guys, if y'all have any questions, please put your questions in. I'll make sure I ask them. Mm-hmm. So how do you change
all of my stitches, they're all single crochet. All single crochet. And what makes my so that's time consuming in and of itself.
Yes.
And so when I single crochet, the first row is regular single crochet, and every other row is single crochet forward. But on the odd rows, or I guess the even rows, I don't know, every other row I crochet backwards. I insert the needle from front to back instead of from back to front, or how you normally would do it.
Yeah.
So that makes it so that one side of the pattern always faces one way and the other side of the pattern always faces another way.
Oh.
Okay, so that's one of the reasons why my technique looks so crisp and clean. It's just because every other row instead of I normally crochet like this.
Mm-hmm.
I normally crochet. I'm a knifer. I'm a stabber.
Yes, me too.
So I do this like this, and then but then when I go on the second row, I go this way, basically.
Wow.
And then when I change colors, and so that's why the colors are so crisp. And when I change colors, it's usually in between the row. So you do the first loop. It's so hard for me to slow it down in my brain. Hold on. Okay, after you pull the first loop, that's when you can switch the color to the next color. And
wow.
One of the things that saves me time, though, is that I don't weave in my my ends. I just what is it? I put a cloth in the back. Yeah.
I was going to ask if you would show the underside. So you just cover it up. I love it.
Well, see, the way that I crochet, there's a right side and a wrong side.
Yes.
One side of the crochet pattern is on one side, and the other, and so on the back side is the quote unquote ugly side, and that's the side
and that's the side you cover. That's smart. That's a really good idea. Let's put a lining in it. Hide it away for those of us who don't like to weave in our edges.
Yeah, because a lot of people ask me that, like, you must have so many ends to weave, and I'm like, I don't weave any of them.
I just cover them up. You never see them.
I don't have time for that.
Okay, so we do have a question. One person wants to know if you still do amigurumi.
I don't know what you mean. Origami?
I can't read or.
Mm-hmm. So somebody said amigurumi. I see the question.
Amigurumi. Do you amigurumi or no?
I don't know what that is, but
Oh, that's when you making dolls and things like that.
oh, no, I don't. I've never
No,
done
you
it.
don't. Okay.
Mm,
All
but
right, gotcha.
it's interesting.
Let's see. Somebody wants to know, how do you figure out your color shading?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a really good question. It was a crazy, crazy way for me to figure this out to be like perfectly like looks like it's popping out at you.
Mhm.
I actually had to sit there for like a good hour being like, okay, how am I gonna make this? So essentially all I took was I took the yarns, the colored yarns, each ball of yarn, and I lined it up and I looked at each one and saw like, stepped back and was like, which one of these looks like it's fading really well? And that's how I figured it out. So essentially I just lined them up and I was like, does this look like a good transition? Yes or no? And then once the answer was yes, I put it in, and then I manually in the computer put every single dot in this pattern. So I have the pattern for this, but it's like dot by dot because I was doing it manually and choosing each color as I was going in each feather. So it took a long time.
How long did it take you to make the chart?
So so there's not an answer because I do the chart as I'm crocheting. So
Holy moly.
so essentially I have like a backdrop in the computer program, and it has the general pattern, and then I have hexagons on top of the pattern, and then I have the paint bucket tool, and I'm painting in the missing colors. So some like on the edges, to define the edges, I put in the missing colors. So essentially I don't have an answer, but while I'm crocheting, I'm adding the dots as well. So crochet, add dot, fix the pattern for every row as I go.
Amazing. Do you think, now that you have a pattern, do you think you would ever make this again?
Oh, all of my pieces are meant to be one of a kind, and people want to buy this one.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh my God, I don't. Like, this is like my favorite one. So I don't want to sell this one at all.
Right.
I have the pattern, and in theory, I can give it out or sell it or whatever. The issue is that I want it to be one of a kind. But then the other issue is that I use hexagons, and the way that I crochet, the specific way that I crochet has its own like system.
Yeah.
It doesn't, if you don't know how to use a hexagon chart or whatever, you may not understand how to do it. And that's why I have a tutorial series on the internet.
Okay, tell us about your tutorial series.
So I have like about a 22 video tutorial series on Udemy. I think it's udemy.com/courses/tapestry crochet. Or if you just go on Udemy and type in tapestry crochet, you'll see my tutorials. And it basically tells you like the whole system that I use.
That's incredible.
It's my own system too. It's not just somebody else's.
I love that. So you created something for these unique pieces that you're making. So in your folks, if you go to, you can either go to Udemy or you can go to the article that we wrote for him, and it's included in there. So you can click that and you can go and see what the Academy has. He has 22 lessons, Francis. I know you were asking what program he uses. So go to that and then you'll be able to find out about his tutorials and how he set that up. I'm just mind boggled by the fact that you are doing it dot by dot. That's just incredible.
Yes.
In the written interview that we did, you had a necklace on. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, so those necklaces, I don't make them, but I want to learn how to make them, and I have a tutorial that I'm gonna learn how to make.
Okay.
Essentially, they are traditional necklaces worn by I believe it's the Huixarica tribe in Jalisco. Other people know them as Huichol, but I believe they're the Huixarica tribe. And if you go to Jalisco, you can find them everywhere, basically. But it's a traditional necklace worn by that tribe, and they make it handmade. And if you go to any like Mexican shop that's specifically with Mexican crafts, you'll probably find them. And so they're world known for creating very beautiful pieces with beads. And so you can see necklaces, but you could also see like they decorate like skulls in beautiful designs, or sometimes jaguars, and they like stick them on with wax. But the that I bought at like markets because I freaking love them. They're very like provocative, or Yeah, they
When
bring
I
me
saw it, I was like, oh, did he make that? That's
no, but I
beautiful.
want to learn.
I'm sure you will. Someone said here that, you're so patient, and I agree. Your work is stunning, and the time that you take to make these pieces is just out of this world. We're really happy that, you are doing this and you are providing us this beautiful talent. Thank
Mhm,
you. Thank
mhm.
you, thank you,
You're
thank
welcome.
you.
Mhm.
So what unexpected benefits do you think you've gotten out of crocheting? Like what things, how has your life been made better through crochet?
Well, like I said, I didn't expect a lot of the recognition that I got from like the world or my friends, my family, because honestly, when I started, I had like zero or low expectations. Like I thought like, hey, I'm just gonna crochet. Like I'm not just gonna make things. Like I didn't at all expect people were gonna react so positively. And so in the way of like people recognizing my work, recognizing my creativity, but what I think is the most valuable is seeing myself like as an artist, because
Mm.
when I first started posting, I legitimately was like, oh look at this piece, like look how nice it is, like I made this is cool. And then people were like, oh, you're such an artist, you're such an artist. And for a lot of my life, I didn't really ever consider myself or think that about myself necessarily. And it was like a huge realization for me once people started commenting on that, because for me it's very natural. This is just like part of my personality, and I didn't at all see like artistry or anything. But now that people have pointed it out, I'm like, oh yeah,
I am an artist.
artist.
Yes, I love
Yeah.
that. I love that.
Mhm.
I love how humble you are. Keep that. If I could give you any advice, keep that, humble nature. It takes you a long way. So
Thank
that's
you.
awesome. That's awesome. And yay for recognition. Um,
Mhm.
so we already talked about your favorite tool now.
Mhm.
Tell them again what tool it is that you have there in your hand. You had a
This is the Furls Crochet Odyssey
uh-huh,
2.25 millimeter
uh-huh.
hook. I
2
really like the weight that it has.
Right? It makes a difference,
It does.
especially when you're working with really thin
Yeah.
yarn, to
Mhm.
have that weight in your hand, I think makes a difference. I remember, so like everybody knows I make earrings, and I had just been introduced to the Odyssey hook, and I tried to go back to the old hook. I was like, ow, this hurt.
Yeah, when I started with just a hook, just a metal hook, and my hand
Yes,
would hurt. It
hurt.
would hurt because especially like I just keep going and going and going,
Yes,
and now
yes.
like my hand feels so much more comfortable. It's just the grip is very important.
I'm telling you, a friend
Mhm.
of mine, the one who introduced me to furls, she would see me crocheting with the old hooks, and she'd be like, "You still using those things? Put that down. You need this hook." So not to toot our own horn, but the Odyssey hook is the truth. The streamlines are the truth. They just make a difference in your crochet. Um, I don't know. I mean, I've just really been inspired by you. I think that everybody here just appreciates what you're doing. We love your craft. We want to see more from you, but we know it takes a really long time. Have you made any smaller pieces?
I've made pillows
Okay.
and bags that are already sold and gone. I
What is the
made them
chance
in
of us getting
advance.
anything?
Yeah, and so those take me like maybe a month, so they're
Mhm.
pretty easy to make. So I prefer making the smaller things because it's so much faster for me, and it's probably what the direction I should go into. But because I want to be so grand and make so many cool things, I sometimes don't. I'm like, it's not about the money; it's about the passion, and that's what
It's
I'm
like,
here
I don't
for.
want to make that little bitty thing. I
No,
want to make this big thing. It has to be
yeah,
grand.
yeah. And right now I'm working on like three really pretty awesome pieces. I'm so freaking excited.
Oh man, when do you crochet? I know you
Um,
have a
so
full-time job, so when do you
yeah,
crochet?
I'm a full-time pharmacist. I mean, I don't have the background here, but I'm at my job right now, after hours. But no, when I get home, I do it 1 hour a day.
1 hour.
1 hour
Okay.
a day.
Okay.
That's all I
Okay.
can do.
How do you stop yourself? Like, how do you stop for 1 hour?
It's hard.
Right.
It's so hard. It's addictive, and sometimes I can't stop, and I have to put other things back because I want to keep crocheting. So I would
Right.
say on weekends I do more than an hour because I can't stop.
Okay, yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, and you once you get into a groove, you just going and
Mhm.
going. So that's
Yeah.
awesome. We love everything, like I said,
Mhm.
that you're doing, folks. If you aren't following him on Instagram, we've already put the link inside of the comment section. We've put the Udemy information in the comment section, and you can also find it on our interview. So make sure you go and check out this interview. It's amazing. You'll be inspired. And of course, I have to do a giveaway. So if you can tell me the hook that my lovely friend uses, I need the hook name and the size in the comment section. I will scroll, and select a winner around this time tomorrow, and I will contact the winner. I appreciate you. Say your name one more time so it's seared in my brain.
Paquiliztli.
Paquiliztli. I gotta say it like that, really dramatic.
Yeah,
Paquiliztli.
Paquiliztli. You gotta get the glitter. You gotta go
Gotta get the
Paquiliztli.
glitter. Man, I'm so mad I don't have glitter.
I want to explain my name, because I didn't just choose it like just cause. It
Yes.
actually means happiness. The word means happiness, and so the language that I learned. So now I'm trilingual. This I chose this word for that reason. This word means happiness. It also means like congratulations, and it also means party. So it has all three of those meanings,
All
and
of
that's why
it.
I use that word. I know it's hard to
Wow.
pronounce, but it has a lot of meaning for me.
Now tell us the language. What language is that?
Mhm. It's called Nahuatl, and it
Now,
has about 1.5 million speakers in Mexico.
wow. I really just didn't even know about the indigenous people in Mexico. And you have truly educated me. You really have. You really, really have. So, not just with your beautiful artwork, because that's what it is, like it's just it's
Mhm.
art, but also, letting us know about this culture. So we appreciate you for that. We
Yeah.
do.
It took me about 8 years to become fluent. And so it's hard to learn a language. And so I say, no matter what language you learn, it does teach you something new and different about yourself. So choose a language if you ever want to, and just learn something. And I think it's very helpful. So I highly encourage anybody to just learn a language.
Yes,
It's challenging, but once you can do it, you're like, I'm accomplished something.
I love that. I love that. So do you have an opportunity to use the language, like,
Oh, yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
awesome.
here in where I live in Los Angeles, and I'm part of a group of about 7 or 8 people, and we practice it. Well, we used to practice in person on Sundays, but because of the pandemic, that had to stop. But we also had Zoom meetings for a while. But I also made a lot of new friendships with native speakers in Mexico. And so sometimes they have conferences, like they just had one a couple of days ago, and that's when I practice. I actually talked about my tapestry crochet in the language a couple of days ago, and so I was really proud of myself, because that really taught me like the progress that I made. So I talk about my pieces, the meaning of my pieces, all in that language.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Someone said, it's sad that we lost our native
Yeah.
tongue. So yeah, it's important that we encourage one another to learn our native languages if we can. So
Yeah.
congratulations to you.
And the resources are also hard to find, but I think that languages die because people let them die. And if you really don't want it to die, you shouldn't just say, hey, learn a language. You should actually do it.
Yes, I agree. I agree 100%. Well, thank you for that. Thank you for encouraging us, to think outside of the box, think outside of creating just triangle patterns, but make them in hexagons. Like, what? Hexagon?
I use
What?
hexagons, yeah.
Incredible. Really, really, really inspiring. Thank you again for your time tonight. Thank you guys so much for watching. Before I log off, thank you again, sir. I'm going to drop you out of the stream. If you have any parting words you'd like to give us, we'll take them.
I just want to say thank you so much to Furls Crochet for giving me this opportunity to showcase my work. It is very validating, not only as a tapestry crochet artist, but also as an LGBT tapestry crochet artist. I felt very validated, especially during this Pride Month. So I'm very happy about that. I want to thank you so much. I also want to say that, Deveter, you're at the job that you need to be at. You are so good at your job. I can tell that you enjoy working where you work. Stay there. You're doing it. You're on the right path.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. That means so much to me. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Thank you. I appreciate you. And we'll talk to you again soon for sure. For sure. For sure. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this edition of Maker Stories. Paquiliztli was amazing. He inspired me. I hope he inspired you. Make sure you go and check out the Maker Story. Somebody told me I spelled something wrong, so I will go and check that out and make sure that I have the correct spelling. I just really want to encourage everybody to check out these Maker Stories. If you know a maker and you feel like their story needs to be told, there is an opportunity. We're accepting new candidates for Maker Stories. So when you go to the Maker Stories area in our blog, you'll see somewhere where you can click to sign up. You can sign someone up or you can sign yourself up. And your story could be told. You can come and talk to me, and we'll have a nice little chat. So make sure you sign up. Really excited about this series and want all the people. I want to talk to all the people from everywhere doing all the amazing fiber things. Remember, we are still celebrating our birthday. Go and get you some stuff. We have discounts happening. We have giveaways happening. So go and do what you got to do to get what you want to get. I'm Mrs. Deveter. You need to go back and get to that work in progress. You know you got something you need to finish sewing some ends and weaving some stuff. I'll talk to you all soon. Bye.